Well, there's an aura of relief here in Knoxville. It feels like a huge cloud has been lifted.
Oh my gosh.
Hello,
yes.
everybody. Welcome to Sports Mecca, episode 2 of the fall 2016 season. I'm Lucas Panzica. With me is Elaina Emery on the desk. Elaina, it finally happened. 12 years later, Tennessee Vols have beaten the Florida Gators.
The streak is over. It feels great.
Amazing.
Yes.
What a day on Saturday it was in Neyland Stadium. We'll dive right into it. Tennessee football. Best performance of Joshua Dobbs' career so far? Best half or best game overall? What do you think?
Best half, for sure. Definitely two different games I think we were watching. First half was completely different than the second half, but I think Dobbs' career took off in the second half.
This may have been the best throw I've seen of his career, that lofted pass to Ethan Wolf for the Vols' second touchdown of the day. And then this one right here, Jauan Jennings absolutely torches Jalen Tabor, which was pretty sweet for a lot of Tennessee fans. And Tennessee just started running with it. The touchdown to Josh Malone made him go up 10. And then the defense is really what I think put the Vols in a position to win.
Definitely.
The pressure on Appleby here led to a pick by Todd Kelly, which led to the Vols' final touchdown of the night. Was a Joshua Dobbs run to go up 17, and the Tennessee Vols win by 10 points against Florida last Saturday. And it was the defense really in the second half. 7 of Florida's 8 drives in the second half were a 3 and out, which is an incredible stat.
Incredible. And the defense also held Florida to 19 rushing yards in the second half. That's unbelievable. Made them throw, forced them to throw, and they just performed really well. I think that if the defense performs the way they did in the second half, the SEC East is ours.
Colton Jumper with the best game of his Tennessee career. 8 tackles, 1 pass breakup. Jalen Reeves-Maybin did play the first couple of drives, but had to come off. He re-aggravated that injury that he had against Ohio. He is expected to play this week against Georgia, according to Butch Jones in his presser today. More on that a little bit later. But Colton Jumper with a great day. Derek Barnett, 2 sacks, 3 quarterback hurries, 1 pass breakup. Only in the second half made him the co-defensive lineman of the week in the SEC. And Josh Dobbs was the SEC player of the week. He had some great numbers as well. 319 pass yards, 4 touchdowns, and 80 yards on the ground, and another touchdown there as well.
Incredible.
Dobbs has been kind of inconsistent like we expected, but he's scoring touchdowns. And this team, instead of last year when it was starting well, it's finishing well, which you would rather have. But they also have not played a complete game of all 4 quarters.
Right, definitely. And this is why Tennessee loves Dobbs, because when he shows up, he shows up. So really looking forward to see him and see what he can do the rest of the year. I think that if he performs the way he did, then he's going to carry the team on, and I'm just really excited to see what he can do. So,
if you look at points in the second half alone this season, the Vols lead. If you look at only second half points, they have outscored opponents 87-24 in the second half. Really polar opposite from what it was last year, which is what you would rather have. But yeah, we still have not seen a complete game from the Vols. They're up to number 11 in the AP poll. Is that kind of the jump you expected?
I actually expect us for Tennessee to go a little bit higher, just because it is Florida and it's such a huge game, and it's the first top 25 team that we've beat so far. But, you know, we'll take it. I think that any jump is a good jump as long as we're not going backwards. So.
Right. Well, not many teams in the top 10 lost this weekend other than Michigan State to Wisconsin. So had a couple other teams lost, I have no doubt the Vols probably would have been in the top 10. But the Vols have beaten Florida so often in the past years. That game being the first SEC game of the year has really been a deciding factor for the Vols, determining how the season is going to go. So we have a win for the first time in 12 years. Does this put the Vols in a position to take the East? If they beat Georgia this weekend, would you call them a lock to take the East?
I mean, we have the momentum. Tennessee has what it takes. Obviously, they proved that they have the talent and they have the drive. So I think that as long as they show out against UGA this weekend, there's no doubt in my mind that the SEC East is Tennessee's for sure.
It's been a long time since Tennessee has been 4-0, but they are this week. What were a couple of your really main takeaways from Saturday?
Takeaways is obviously it's a great momentum builder. We still need to work on putting the 4 quarters together. They need to start making sure that they're a well-rounded team instead of just like a second half kind of team. But I think they're in good shape to go against UGA for sure.
I'm really looking at that next man up mentality the Vols have. We saw it more than ever this Saturday. We talked a little bit about Colton Jumper, but Jauan Jennings, what a year he's been having. He hasn't been lighting it up stats-wise, but he had a great catch against Virginia Tech for a touchdown. And he's really been emerging as an athlete that the Vols could really use out there other than Josh Malone. We haven't seen much from Preston Williams yet this year, so it's good to see Jauan Jennings
Stepping up.
Yeah, getting those reps in at wide receiver. But we'll talk more about some Tennessee football later on. Knoxville is still celebrating. A lot of couches were being burned on Saturday.
A lot of fire.
I had a lot of people texting me from out of town asking, why do Tennessee fans have the need to burn things after a win? And I didn't have an answer.
Things were going to burn either way.
Right. I told them we're not used to winning, so we just don't really know what to do with ourselves. But we'll move on. Some more Tennessee sports. Tennessee soccer lost. They had their own game against Florida on Sunday, lost 2-0 to the number 12 ranked team in the country. They're 6-5 overall, 2-2 in the SEC. They'll host Vandy this Friday out at Regal Soccer Stadium. That will be broadcasted live on SEC Network Plus. And then Tennessee volleyball also had a couple games this weekend. They rebounded from a 3-0 loss against Mississippi State on Friday, beat Georgia 3-0 yesterday on Sunday. They're 10-4, 1-1 in the conference. They return to play at South Carolina on Wednesday. So we're going to take it to break. A lot more to talk about. Stick around.
The UT Student Health Center offers a variety of services for students, faculty, and staff of the university. Our full-service pharmacy is staffed with licensed pharmacists who are dedicated to the health and well-being of the UT community. Located on campus across from the Rock, the UT Student Health Center Pharmacy provides the same services offered at large retail chains at your convenience. We accept most insurance plans, so you'll be able to purchase the medication you need for an affordable price. At the University of Tennessee, your health is essential. So come by our pharmacy and remember, a healthy vol is a happy vol.
Welcome back to Sports Mecca. We're talking NFL. Let's start with the Titans. Lucas, this is your team.
All right,
what happened?
So we're not going to go 15-1. It'll actually end up being 14-2. Okay. The Titans lost to the Raiders on Sunday. Bit of a controversial ending here. Andre Johnson, kind of a week. He couldn't quite see it there. There it is, kind of a push-off. He kind of fell over. Titans thought they had the game going to overtime. End up losing on another questionable no call there in the end zone on Harry Douglas. Might have been pass interference, but it's just the Titans' way. But that's all right. The Titans have definitely been more encouraging this year than they were at the beginning last year.
I mean, I would agree with you, but I definitely think that the offense, they need more firepower. I mean, there's no doubt about that. They need to outscore their opponents early on in the game, and they need to find ways to score points and keep the opposing team off the field away from their end zone. Long drives eat up the clock, and I think that's what they need to do in order to keep their wins up.
Right, Marcus Mariota talked about it a little bit today, how he's saying he's trying to do too much, and I think that's true. I'd really love to see this running game get going, the DeMarco Murray-Derrick Henry combo in the backfield. DeMarco's had a couple of good games, but I'd really love to see them start feeding off each other, and I hope we do in these next couple of games. But some interesting stuff going on in the pros. The Patriots, Tom Brady-less, Garoppolo-less, still managed to put on a dominant performance against the Houston Texans on Thursday Night Football, winning 27-0. Jacoby Brissett did just enough. But apparently there's a shoulder injury that we were not made aware of during the game, but after the game, he did suffer a shoulder injury. Still don't quite know their status for this week. Both of them could be healthy, one of them could be healthy, or none of them could be healthy. I personally would love to see Julian Edelman under center there for the Patriots.
Good. You know, I'm honestly just surprised that they've made it this far without Tom Brady. I mean, 4-0, I'm just so shocked, and they only have one more week, so who knows, maybe Tom Brady might not come back as their starter. I mean, they've done so well so far, so we'll just have to see, but I'm just surprised that they've gotten 4-0 without him. So
I don't know if you can really put Tom Brady on the bench yet, but it does scare me that the Patriots are looking this good without Tom Brady. When he comes back, he's known this offense for way over a decade. He knows what to do. He's going to come in, and right now my Patriots, not my Patriots, the Patriots are my really early pick to make the Super Bowl, or at least win the AFC. So a few other points. There's a few undefeated teams. The Vikings, though, are 3-0 without Adrian Peterson and Sam Bradford.
Yeah. I mean, it's surprising considering the injuries that they have. They're predicted to win their division, so it's not that much of a surprise. But I think we just need to see how the season progresses as the injuries kind of come to fruition. And they'll miss Adrian Peterson for sure. I think that's a huge loss. So.
Sam Bradford has been playing pretty well, still kind of getting to know the playbook. Teddy Bridgewater, of course, being out before the season, out for the year was a big blow to them. But they've looked good so far. We'll do a little bit of pick 'em later on to see what they do this weekend. The Colts escape with the win over the Chargers, kind of going around the AFC South here. So the Colts are 1-2, one of many 1-2 teams in the NFL. 13 teams out of 34 are 1-2 going into week
I think
4.
that's crazy. But is it good for the NFL to have so much equality going on? I mean, or do you want your teams to have a super big division between your records? So I don't know. I think once the injuries shape, or you figure out the injuries again and the strength of competition continues to grow, we'll see what happens.
So out of the undefeateds, we've got the Patriots, the Ravens, the Broncos, the Eagles, and the Vikings. If you have to pick one of those teams to go all the way, who do you have?
I guess I would say the Broncos. I don't know. I've always been a fan, and they showed out their first game, so I feel like they could continue. So I don't know. Who do you have?
I love Trevor Siemian and the Broncos. So, yeah, I wouldn't doubt that. But like I said earlier, the Patriots have looked so good. And when Tom Brady is back, I think they're going to be scary. And they are certainly going to make the playoffs. And I think they'll definitely contend for Super Bowl this year in February. And let's get into some pick'em then before we talk about some other stuff. The Bills at the Patriots. Don't know who's going to be a quarterback for the Patriots. But if there's anything we've learned is that, honestly, it might not even matter.
It might not. But, you know, I think that Rex Ryan has kind of overstayed his welcome in Buffalo. And they've already fired their offensive coordinator. And the defense has been horrible. So if I had to pick, you know, I'm going the Pats, obviously. What about you?
Yeah, like I said, the Patriots have looked excellent all year. I think they roll on Saturday, and they'll be 4-0 after getting back Tom Brady. Before they get back Tom Brady. So the Dolphins go to the Bengals. Who do you have there?
I have the Bengals. They're just too good for the Dolphins. Simply put, it's the Bengals.
I'll agree with that. My Titans going to the Texans, an AFC South matchup. Texans did not look good on Thursday. Brock Osweiler was struggling, but who do you have here?
I have the Texans, sorry. I'm just going, the Titans are coming off that loss, so I'm just going with the Texans, but we'll see. Hope for you that it's the Titans win, but.
Tighten up, they clean it up, they're going to go 14-2, and they beat the Texans this week. Giants go to the Vikings. Do the Vikings stay undefeated?
I say the Vikings do go undefeated. It's a home game. I think that really makes a difference. I think that's proven to be a really big part of a game, so definitely the Vikings.
Giants lose a heartbreaker this past week to the Redskins. Eli Manning throwing a late interception on a potential game-winning drive. I agree. I don't think the Giants quite bounce back, and the Vikings go 4-0. An impressive feat without Teddy Bridgewater and Adrian Peterson. Before we go to break, a few breaking news. A lot of stuff happened today. A lot of stuff that we kind of have to throw in at the end here. Paul Pierce announced his retirement after this season. And also Chris Bosh's Miami career is over. He's had some health issues with blood clots and some heart problems. We don't know about his NBA career as a whole, but Pat Riley confirmed it today that Chris Bosh's Miami career will come to an end. And some other news. Arnold Palmer, legendary golfer, passed away yesterday at the age of 87. Palmer won 4 Masters, 1 U.S. Open, and 2 British Opens in his career. 95 professional wins total. Not many athletes will have a drink named after them.
A legend.
So, right, the definition of a legend, especially in the golf game. So a huge loss to the sports world there. And then other terrible news coming out of this weekend. Jose Fernandez, the 24-year-old pitcher for the Miami Marlins, died in a boating accident this weekend. 2 others died as well. And this is a tough loss for the MLB as a whole.
Oh, such a big loss. I mean, he was defected from the U.S. from Cuba in 2008, and he was 2013 Rookie of the Year. He had Tommy John surgery in 2014, missed the season. So, I mean, huge loss. He's had such great accomplishments, and the MLB is really going to miss him. So.
Yeah, such a personality. You hear so much about his character, and he was only 24 years old, still had a long career ahead of him. So terrible, terrible news coming out of Miami. So thoughts and prayers go out to the Palmer and Fernandez families. We're going to go to break. Stay with us.
My favorite part about being involved and being a part of the Vol family is that we're one Tennessee.
Being from Tennessee and being able to go to school at the University of Tennessee was an honor for me.
My scholarship means so much to me. It's really a blessing.
My message to the Tennessee Fund donors would be just to say thank you for giving me the opportunity to pursue my dreams.
We appreciate everything that you guys do for us.
Thank you so much. It really does mean a lot to me and my teammates.
Vol fans, there's one penalty that is not reviewable.
Where's your orange? It's Friday.
And you're not wearing orange.
You gonna really come out here with no orange on?
Do not forget to support your Vols by wearing your orange on Fridays.
Got to be kidding me.
Show us your orange and avoid getting a penalty flag thrown your way on Big Orange Friday.
Come on, man.
Big Orange is our color. Big ideas feed the fire of the volunteer. When you see 16 million colors on a computer screen, understand a Tennessee graduate helped put them there. A Tennessee graduate made it possible for you to hold a conversation with a satellite in the palm of your hand. Our ideas touch your life in ways you can't imagine. Orange is simply a color. Big Orange is a way of life.
The University of Tennessee. Big Orange, big ideas.
Sports Mecca, Lucas Panzica and Elaina Emery here with you. Let's talk some college football, some SEC football. Georgia goes to Ole Miss, gets pummeled 45-14. Certainly helping the Vols out here. This puts the Vols really in a great spot and a great opportunity here to go to Athens and get several steps closer to the SEC East crown.
Definitely. I think that Ole Miss kind of unveiled some weaknesses from Georgia, and so I feel like after Tennessee's huge win against Florida, they're going to swoop in and they're just going to dominate.
Georgia has kind of struggled the last couple of weeks, struggled against FCS school Nicholls State, almost lost there at Mizzou, and then, against Ole Miss in Oxford, got rolled over by the Rebels, 45-14. So another game out there in the West, Texas A&M was playing Arkansas this weekend. This was a huge game in the West because it's really between these two teams at this point of who's going to kind of step up and compete with Alabama for the SEC West crown. Started off, was a great game. Here in the second quarter, Austin Allen, of course, brother of ex-Arkansas quarterback Brandon Allen, played well, at least in the first half. But Texas A&M came storming back, and we learned the other day that Trevor Knight is for real. I think we'll see it after this play here. Trevor Knight ripped off a couple of long touchdowns. Arkansas went up to take the lead on this one. But here we go. Trevor Knight, 48 yards, right up the middle.
Beautiful.
So much space in front of him. The guy's an athlete. He's really coming into his own at Texas A&M. After kind of being stranded against Oklahoma. There you see a miscue from him. But Texas A&M recovered. It was tied 17 in the third quarter. Looked like it was going to be a good game when Arkansas went up 24, or excuse me, Texas A&M with the stop there. But Texas A&M goes up 24, and running back Travion Williams with a touchdown here. And right here it goes Trevor Knight to Christian Kirk. Vols going to have to start paying attention to this Aggies team because they've looked excellent in the first few weeks.
Definitely. I think in the West, it's definitely Alabama and Texas A&M. And the Vols have a lot to focus on if they're going to try to beat Texas A&M coming up in the next few weeks. So
Trevor Knight, 225 pass yards and 2 touchdowns, and an extra 157 yards on the ground and another 2 touchdowns. Really, really playing out of his mind right now. Not really what we saw there at the end of his career with Oklahoma. This is really his Sugar Bowl form from when he was beating Alabama with the Sooners. But, so a major concern for Tennessee going to College Station, but first they've got to focus on Georgia. We'll talk about that in just a second. Now, another big game in the SEC, which I think is a really underrated rivalry over there in the West, down in the Plains. Auburn beats LSU in dramatic fashion, really an Auburn-esque, the most Auburn-esque way
to win.
Yeah,
for sure.
With 1 second left on the clock. But we saw LSU scores with 1 second left, gets a foot down in the end zone. They won the game. Then they come back, review it. Wasn't a touchdown. The clock ran out before the ball was snapped. And it results in Les Miles, after 12 years, being fired by LSU, along with his offensive coordinator, Cam Cameron, who hadn't been there that long. What was your reaction to that?
It's a heartbreaking loss. And I really am surprised by the decision to fire Les Miles in the middle of the season. I don't really understand why they would do that, but I mean, what do you think? Do you think it was smart to do that? Do you think that it was the right timing? What do you think?
I also think I was very surprised they did it so early, only 4 weeks in. Of course, LSU has not played up to their standards at all. They were going into this season, really a lot of people expecting them to contend for the West and contend for a national championship. If Brandon Jennings could get his passing game together, Leonard Fournette in the backfield there, the team is ridiculously talented. So all LSU fans, the LSU community is very disappointed. I'm surprised they didn't wait until the end of the season. If you'll remember last year, they were planning on firing. They pretty much did fire Les Miles, and then they saw kind of the how that fired back with the fans and the community and the players, and they wanted him to stay and carried him off the field and everything. He decided to keep him. And then 4 weeks into the next season, he ends up being fired.
Right.
But Ed Orgeron takes over as the interim head coach. People will remember him. Tennessee fans will remember him. He was on Lane Kiffin's defensive staff and followed him to USC. Took over for Kiffin as the interim coordinator after Kiffin was fired there at 4 a.m. on the tarmac at USC. Did a pretty good job over at South California. Almost, I think, was in consideration to replace Kiffin over there. So he's a good coach. He knows his players. Players love him. He knows football. He knows how to lead a team. He's coached in the SEC. He's been a head coach in the SEC before at Ole Miss. So I think they have as good as an interim guy as you can get in Ed Orgeron. But again, I was very surprised they did it this early. But I think that kind of the upper management over there at LSU has wanted Les Miles out for a little bit.
So do you think that they will wait to hire a new coach until the end of the season, until next season, or do you think that they'll do it right now?
Well, depending on who they hire. Art Briles is probably sitting on his couch right now hoping to get a call from them. He's looking for a new job. You'll remember he was fired by Baylor this past summer after all the sexual assault scandal over there. A great offensive mind. He might be better suited as an offensive coordinator in the SEC, but I think if LSU gave him a call, he would certainly come running. But some other guys that have been talked about, Tom Herman has done a fantastic job over at Houston in the past couple of years. Art Briles, of course, Jimbo Fisher, always a name that seems to pop up with head coaching searches. And Lane Kiffin, even a name that I've heard. I'd be surprised if this were to happen. He's probably got a pretty good situation here. If Kiffin does go coach somewhere as a head coach, I don't know if it'll be in the SEC just yet. But if you had to pick one of those guys, who do you think?
Oh my gosh, I really don't know. I think it would be really cool to see Lane Kiffin, see what he could do. But again, it'd be super surprising. So I don't know.
This is what I wanted to show before we go into Pick'em or go into Tennessee, Georgia. This poor lady here at the back of the end zone tries to catch it. I'm not sure what she's doing here on her knees there trying to catch the ball, but she's okay. She confirmed on Twitter that she's all right.
I wish she would have caught it. That would have been amazing.
Yeah. Okay, so Auburn beats LSU. Les Miles gets fired. A few guys now, do you think LSU, Ed Orgeron actually takes over as the interim head coach. He used to be on Lane Kiffin's staff here at UT. Quite a character in the college football world. But do you think LSU goes ahead and finds someone mid-season? There's a couple guys that don't have a job right now that could be hired.
Yeah, I think that they definitely do. I mean, who do you think would be a good fit for this coaching position?
Well, there's several names that will come up. Tom Herman of Houston has been doing an excellent job last year and this season. And then Art Briles, of course, was fired after the scandal, the sexual assault scandals at Baylor. This summer he got fired, and so he's a great offensive mind. I think he would be a good fit at LSU. But someone like Jimbo Fisher has been mentioned, and I've even heard Lane Kiffin leaving midseason to go into LSU. Wouldn't be the first time he did that to a team. But I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what happens. I don't think they'll hire anyone until the end of the season. But I think Art Briles is definitely looking for another head coaching job. He would probably be better suited as an offensive coordinator in the SEC. But we'll see what happens there. But Les Miles gets fired after 12 years at the helm for LSU. Okay, Tennessee, Georgia. This week, Nick Chubb was injured in the game last week against Ole Miss. Just a sprained ankle, probably a light sprain. They're not sure about his status for this week, but we'll see what happens. Do the Vols have the East on lock if they beat Georgia?
I think so. I think this is it for them. They beat Georgia. They beat Florida. The momentum is there. They have the talent. And UGA, the offensive line has just not played well. I mean, Jacob Eason, he's new, he's fresh, and I mean, he just hasn't showed out as much as I would have liked for him to. So I think if the Vols win, the Vols have it.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a turning point in the season for Tennessee. If they can win in Athens this weekend and really take care of business after that Alabama game with the rest of the teams in the East, then, yeah, I think absolutely they're a lock to win. But they have to be careful. There's a couple trap games there at the tail end of the season.
A little bit.
Missouri's looked pretty good this year against Georgia. They've played pretty well in the last few games. So, but that's a conversation for another time. But Tennessee at Georgia, what I want to know is, can the Vols finally play a complete game?
That is the question.
In a hostile environment, too, over at Sanford Stadium.
Right. That's the question, and that's the key. I think the only thing stopping them from winning is the complete game. If they can play from start to finish the way that they did against Florida in the second half, then there's no way that they can't beat Georgia, and they can't go up against their offensive line, for sure.
According to Butch Jones in his press conference today, Darren Kirkland Jr. is questionable to doubtful for the Georgia game. which doesn't look good if he does play. He definitely won't be 100%, which is a big hit for the Vols. It was a big hit against Florida until Colton Jumper came in and had the game of his life. Do you think Colton Jumper could possibly replicate that performance at a rival stadium?
I mean, for Tennessee's sake, I hope so. It would be great. So.
Jalen Reeves-Maben should be back, fully expected to play this week. A huge help for the Vols. They're going to hope that he's 100%. He was back for the Florida game, but like we said earlier, went down after a couple of drives after he re-aggravated that injury from the Ohio game. But let's go into pick'em here at the tail end of the show. A couple good games, some great games going on. Wisconsin coming off of a great win against Michigan State. They snuck into the top 10. Now they play Michigan.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I choose Michigan, but I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Wisconsin came. I mean, they had a surprise win against Michigan State on Saturday, sorry. And I just really think that if they show out like they did against Michigan State, then they have no problem beating Michigan.
We'll skip ahead a little bit. LSU at Missouri. Like we said, Missouri's had a couple good performances this year. LSU now without Les Miles at Orgeron's first game as a head coach. What do you think?
I pick Mizzou. I mean, I just don't think LSU can bounce back that fast from losing their coach. Maybe the interim is great, but I just really think that Mizzou has got it under lock this week.
Orgeron's proven he can do the job to some extent. He took over for Lane Kiffin at USC after Kiffin was fired at 4 a.m. on airport tarmac. But Orgeron did pretty well, and honestly, I think he was kind of considered as Kiffin's replacement over at USC. He's got experience. He's coached in the SEC before for several schools. He was the head coach of Ole Miss for a while. That didn't go so well, but he knows how to lead a football team, and I think players love him and respect him, and the community likes him. So, but I agree. I'm going to go with Missouri. I think LSU has looked worse and worse as the games have gone on this year. I think they lose at Mizzou. Mizzou kind of turned into a dangerous game for some schools that really didn't expect it. That quarterback there, Drew Lock, has got an arm.
I mean, either way, the Tigers win, right? So
that's true. All right, and this is probably the game of the week outside of Knoxville. Louisville going to Clemson. Game day will be there. All the hype this year so far has been about Lamar Jackson. The guy has 25 total touchdowns for Louisville, the quarterback, in the first 4 weeks, which is an unbelievable stat. Definitely the leader right now, the Heisman frontrunner, as there always is at the beginning of the year. But who do you have here? This is a fantastic game, top 5 matchup.
It's such a close game, and Lamar Jackson is always just so fun to watch. Honestly, I think the score could be like 65-60 or go into overtime. It's going to be a great game no matter what. I'm going to go with Louisville. I'm keeping my fingers crossed for them. I think Lamar Jackson is just amazing. Like you said, the front runner for a Heisman. So I think they have it in them, and I just love to see Clemson get beat. So, you know.
What do you have against Clemson?
It's wrong orange.
Okay, I agree. All right, I can't disagree with that. But I like Louisville. I love Lamar Jackson. I'd love to see Louisville make a push for the college football playoff, but I love Clemson. I think Clemson's definitely going to be back in the playoff this year. I think they win the ACC. Deshaun Watson is just too good, and that Clemson defense shut down Georgia Tech last Thursday. It was Georgia Tech, obviously not the most formidable offense in the SEC, but that defense has looked good all year, and I think they're the first defense to not stop but slow down Lamar Jackson just enough for the Tigers to get the win. All right, UT going to Athens to play Georgia. What's your final pick here?
UT, obviously. I have to pick UT. Georgia's coming off a huge loss. UT's coming off a huge win. I think that UT has finally noticed the weaknesses, and I think their weaknesses have finally come out. So I think if UT really puts them to the test and really hones in on UGA's weaknesses on their offensive line, then there's nothing stopping them. What do you got?
Absolutely. The question is, as we've been saying, can the Vols play 4 quarters? They've been starting terribly. They've been finishing excellently. But can they play the full 4 quarters? I don't know if they can over at Sanford Stadium. But if there's anything that we've seen, we have learned that the Vols don't always have to play their best football to win. We clearly saw that in the first 3 games. Saw that Saturday as well. That first half was one of the worst first halves I've ever seen in the Bush Jones era. Second half was the best second half I've seen in the Bush Jones era. So sometimes we really just don't know what we're going to get from this team. But I think they're going to go into Athens and take care of business and go into College Station undefeated. Texas A&M is Kentucky this week, and the Vols go to College Station undefeated. That's a top 10 matchup.
For sure. Huge, huge. And I think another thing about the UGA game, if Chubb doesn't play, that's amazing for our defense, for sure. And our defense has already proven they can step up. I mean, when you have the co-defensive like linemen of the SEC, I mean, it's impossible to not win if Chubb
Of course, the Vols injured Nick Chubb last year, so Chubb definitely is going to want to come back and get revenge against the team that injured him. So if he is back, which I think he will be, he won't be 100%, but he's going to be out for blood. So that's going to be a good one in Athens this weekend. Thank you so much for being with us today. I'm Lucas Panzica.
I'm Elaina Emery.
We'll see y'all next time.